Now, for our third killer strategy, I want to talk about money. And I want to take what's already quite an unpopular topic, and I want to argue for a rather unpopular position. But before I do, I'll firstly lay the groundwork for my argument with a mindset that I hope you will all agree with me on. When starting out in your career, your objective, your North Star, your modus operandi in everything that you do should not be to try and make as much money as you can. Should not be to try and maximize your freedom in terms of schedule and being able to work from anywhere. Should not be trying to minimize the number of hours that you work and get away with as little as possible. All of this talk of passive revenue streams and are you trading time for money? These things do not apply to you in your 20s. Your objective should simply be to maximize learning and experience. You're not trading time for money, you're trading time for experience. And in your 20s, there's no better trade in the game to make. Now, when I was researching the book marketing, I came across a discussion between the authors Neil Strauss and Tim Ferriss for the online education platform Creative Live. And they were discussing their differing philosophies when it comes to book advances. Tim's was quite simple. Go for the biggest advance you can, get as much money as you can, and have your publisher invested in the process. But Neil's was quite different. He said, I want to write a lot of books, and I think Neil has gone on to write 9, 10, maybe 11 books, and therefore I'm looking to develop a relationship with my publisher. And because of this, I don't really care about the advance. I just want to write a lot of books. It's interesting to note in the years since that Tim may well have come around to Neil's way of thinking, writing on the topic of podcast sponsorship earlier this year, and so you can see all of my research coming full circle here. Tim writes, I want to convert casual listeners into die-hard fervent listeners, and I want to convert casual sponsors into die-hard fervent sponsors. This requires two things: playing the long game and strategically leaving some chips on the table. The podcast over-delivers for sponsors, partially because I undersell downloads. If, hypothetically, I get 1 million downloads, I might only guarantee and charge for 750,000 downloads. Undersell and over-deliver. It's simply the best long-term play. Now, in boxing and in mixed martial arts and really any other combat sports with weight classes, we have this idea of the pound-for-pound champion, the champion of all the various different champions who is thought to be the best. And it's only a theoretical idea. There's no way to morph Floyd Mayweather with Vladimir Klitschko and have them duke it out on a level playing field. But it's an interesting thought experiment. And I think there's an analogy to draw here when it comes to money. If we were to try and construct an equation for job security, I think it would look a little bit like value added divided by paycheck commanded. Kind of how hard is your punch divided by how much do you weigh. Now, with initiative, you'll be maximizing the amount of value that you add as much as possible, but you will be making plenty of mistakes. And early on in your career, you'll have some real-life trepidations. You'll be going through first heartbreaks, heartaches, or perhaps lack thereof. You'll be going through managing your energy, learning to wake up when the alarm goes off and just not get run down and sick. And so I would advise that you give yourself just a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of buffer, and you don't ask for as much as you might be able to. Now, the pound for pound idea, this works as a perfect analogy where I'm from in the UK with our sterling currency, the pound, but we might say the dollar for dollar champion. You won't know what everyone else in your company is otherwise making, but who is the dollar for dollar champion? Who is the best investment in terms of all of the employees? You want that to be you. Job security doesn't doesn't really care how much you make. You could make 10 million, but if you bring in 100 million worth of business, you're quite secure. And likewise, you could charge 10,000, but if you only bring in 10,000, you're potentially not so secure. So be a pound for pound champion. Now, just in case you disagree with me entirely on this, and you say, Ed, this is like nice and all, but I want to go for the biggest paycheck I possibly can. In the interest of leaving no stone unturned, I'll tell you how to do that as well.